This one was a little bit of a challenge because there were some colors that I wasn't sure were going to match the colors, the true colors to this original picture. So I ended up using a variety of different colors just to kind of blend it in and see how it came together. So starting out, I worked on the eyes first on this little wing and then kind of worked with the lines after that. But then later on, I just waited to do the lines until after I've got that first couple of layers down because it just ended up being a lot easier in the long run because you end up losing those lines overall anyway. And I wanted them to look a little bit more clean. So I ended up doing the first couple of layers of the blending of the colors, the background itself, rather than the details. So that's what I end up doing a lot of the time, is working on the shading and the lighting. Like, that's the same thing. The lighting and the colors themselves. So blending the colors, the undertones first, and then going back after using the mineral spirit oil with the details. So just kind of like ignore the lines themselves, but work on the different colors here. So I used a blend of different browns, orange, a little bit of some burnt sienna, like the red tones, some dark sepia, and even some raw umber colors, which is kind of like a earthy green tone. And then use the mineral spirit oil to blend all that together. I probably should have added a couple more layers before using the mineral spirit oil, because what that does is it has that waxy coating already implemented in there. So when I use the mineral spirit oil, it blends it better, and you start to see that the tooth of the paper disappears. But if you don't have enough layers and you use it, of course, the tooth of the paper is going to still show through. So you can see that example here. I also used a little bit of it's that pale blue color, but it's actually called something like pale gray or whatever, but it's a very light blue color, and I like to use that for the contrast between the warm tones and the cool tones in here. You can see that it works really well to create some of those highlighted features. Then I use the black to add some of the details. Just in some areas, I didn't want to enhance too much with the black, because you want those lines to blend in a little bit more. I was just telling my students yesterday when I had a class that the first side or first detail, like let's say for a dog or something, the first detail is in the dog, the eyes, or the facial features, they're going to take longer than the rest of the portrait, because you're kind of trying to figure out, like, okay, how is it going to work? So the first couple of layers, it takes a little bit longer to figure those things out. And then as you're moving along, it goes a little bit faster because you've actually figured out the right methods to use those different colors. So it's the same thing with the wings on butterflies or moths. When I'm going from section to section, that section is going to be a little bit slower, that very first one, and then it goes faster for the rest of them. So that's why this one took a lot longer for the first wing. I was applying all sorts of different colors just to try to get that color match. But then the rest of them, I kind of figured it out and was able to finish the rest of the wings a little bit faster. But yeah, I used all sorts of different colors, as you can see. I always like to recommend no less than 5 color pencils for the portrait itself. I probably used like 10 to 13-ish colors for this portrait. And it was a lot, but I think that it turned out really well. Now you can also use a slice tool. That's what I'm doing here to kind of create some details that maybe you might not have seen, but closer towards the end, you'll see that it's not completely smooth looking. So that's the implementation with the slice tool, is to kind of create a little bit more of that the edge of the highlights that's like reflecting in the wing. Don't forget to like and subscribe too if you are interested in this kind of like teaching or classes or whatever. If you're interested in learning to draw with colored pencils, it's not like super realistic, but it is realistic enough that people are going to think that it's a photograph, because I get that quite a lot. And it's kind of like hard to advertise myself without people thinking, oh, that's just a photograph. That's nothing. I don't need to, they just look past it. So, I try to make it still look like a drawing a little bit, because my goal is not to make it look photorealistic. My goal really is to just have fun. I always encourage everybody to have that goal in mind instead of making it look super realistic ultimately. I've gotten to the point now that it's very therapeutic for me, and I get in the moment, in the zone when I'm drawing, and I love it. It calms me down. So now you can see it's darker towards the top, lighter towards the bottom, and I'm not working on the details just yet. I'm trying to get that blend of the lighting, where it's coming from, and then go through with the details. And I'm not really I used like a lighter brown, or just a regular brown first, and then used a dark sepia for those lines. And then the rest of the lines don't have just like a straight density. So I'm using that same brown, I think it's the Van Dyke brown and Faber-Castell, to create those lines, and then using the dark sepia just to kind of darken some parts of it, but not all of it. And then to blend it all together a little bit, I just used like a lighter umber color. That way it doesn't like change the depth of the colors around it. And then the middle body is kind of like, I have a challenge with these when it comes to butterflies. There's so many different colors, but you don't really realize it until you're actually drawing it, because it looks like there's just monotone. It's just like one color, but it's not. So I'm trying to get like the shape of the bottom half first, and then add that sense of depth by using the darker colors. And I always like to wait to use black until closer towards the end. That way it's not just, it's a lot harder to fix something that's drawn in black than it is with a lighter color. So that's why I do that. And it's also very flat color too. So I want to still use some sort of tone, some sort of color in there before using the black. So after the mineral spirit oil, then I use a little bit of that raw umber to add that green tone. I think the green really adds a nice, realistic earth tone to pretty much all of my portraits. Because really, when you're looking at an animal or critter or whatever, you're seeing it with the reflections from the natural environment too. And a lot of the times there's green tones in the natural environment. So incorporating that into it actually makes it look even more realistic, as if you weren't looking at a picture per se, but you're looking at the real thing. If you are trying to like figure out what kind of tricks for layering, especially with butterflies, use lighter colors first and then build up with darker colors. Definitely look at the shading. Now, I would say this is for pretty much any portrait, but with the butterflies, you can see that it's like darker towards the top, lighter towards the bottom. Just pay attention to where the lighting is and where the colors like, blend in, and use lighter colors first, because if you end up making a mistake, you can erase lighter colors better than darker colors, and you can also blend better with lighter colors and lighter pressure. So light pressure, lighter colors first, build up your layers, then you can start to add darker colors and heavier pressure later on. But the one thing that really helps me is the mineral spirit oil, because I don't have to apply so much pressure after applying that. It darkens it, blends it really nice and smooth, and then you can add so much more detail after using that mineral spirit oil. If you're interested in the type of materials that I use, I have a full-on material list ebook that you can purchase. I'll have a link below. It's on my website too. And if you're interested in actually just learning to draw in general and you want to have fun and you want to take one of my classes, I do have a lot of online classes that are at your own pace. You can play or pause at your leisure, because I know I go fast and I've got a lot of students that will pause it so that they can catch up. And it's really good because then they can actually gain a lot of information instead of just a regular in-person class that you're trying to still keep up with everybody else too. So if you take one of those classes, it'll be linked below. I have all sorts of different animals that you can learn to draw from. So like bumblebee, bunny, hummingbird, a couple other ones too. But those are all going to be linked below if you just click on take a class. If you want to learn to draw pet portraits, or you want to take a step further in learning about details, I have a full 8-week program. It's play or pause at your leisure as well. So you don't have to necessarily do it week by week, but I just categorize it that way. But the first couple of weeks are learning to draw different types of fur, so like different textured and different colored fur. And then there's a couple of weeks that it's different animal features like eyes, nose, mouth, ears. And then by the end, you take a full pet portrait class. And then the very last week, you draw your own pet portrait or whatever portrait that you want, using the skills that I had provided for that 8-week program. And throughout that whole program, you can ask me questions along the way and I help you out. We can also do a one-on-one meeting by the end or midway. It's all very loose, because I know for me, I don't always have time to just sit down and schedule something. So whenever I get free time is when I do it. So that's why I'm providing those options too for you. But it is something that you have to motivate or push yourself, discipline yourself to do, really. So check that out. That'll be linked below as well. And if you have any questions or anything too, just let me know in the comments below. I'm more than happy to help. I really like teaching my students on how to draw and also seeing their progress too. So this size portrait here is a 8 by 8 size. And I think it's a really good size for learning if you're kind of like intermediate, because it's not too big and it's not too small. So you can actually gain a lot of experience with this one. It does take a little bit longer than if you were doing a small portrait, but I always recommend doing small portraits first if you're first learning. That way you can have a complete portrait, you've got that satisfaction of one, and it motivates you to continue doing more. And then once you have a portfolio built up, you can actually take a step back, look at your very first one you did compared to your most recent one, and actually see the progress. When people ask me, is it all color pencil? I just answer with yes, even though there are some tools that I use that are not color pencil, like the mineral spirit oil, or using the slice tool or an eraser. But ultimately it is just color pencil, because I'm not using markers, I'm not using paint. It's not like a mixed media. I think the mineral spirit oil, because it's just a blending solvent, it still is considered one form of media, which is color pencils. So don't think that you're cheating if you're using any of these tools. I use all these tools all the time, and I think it really does help to prevent hand cramps, carpal tunnel. It helps you be able to draw for longer periods of time too. So don't be ashamed if you have to use other tools to keep yourself going. But if you're struggling too with going, just pause, breathe, take a step back, go do something else, and then come back to it. All of my portraits that I do, it looks like I do it all in one time, but I don't. I actually take breaks very frequently, especially because now I have a different job and my studio is where my other job is. So if I have to stop because I got a phone call or there's a task that needs to be done, I will stop. Even if it took me 5 minutes, I just sat down for 5 minutes. So don't be hard on yourself if you are not doing it right away and just like completing it all at once. That's it's possible, but it would just drive me crazy too. I really hope that this video was helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below if you have any questions or if you really like this one or if you've got a suggestion for me to draw something.